Okay, so in my quest to better understand all the little nuances and differences with the older mini PCs, I got myself a Dell Optiplex 9020M or 9020 Micro, which is basically the equivalent of the EliteDesk 800 G1 DM or G1 Mini. So what I'd like to do is go through the unit, show the innards, do some comparisons with a ProDesk G1. Would like to kind of talk about some of the pitfalls that I ran into when I ordered this, so that others, if they're thinking of going with the Dells, just some stuff to look out for. So let's start with the front here. Okay. Much like the Lenovo, Dell was really pushing folks to have the unit more in a vertical position versus the more traditional with the HP, which obviously was horizontal. So you've got the Optiplex 9020, you've got the usual sort of headphone and microphone, 2 USB, and that's pretty much it. Of course, the power button. On the back, we've got a display port, we've got VGA, 4 more USB, we've got our network adapter. This is Intel. This little guy is the connector for the power, and I'm going to show you the power adapter in a second here. This doesn't have anything in it, but if it did, you could add an additional display port, HDMI. If you wanted an actual serial port, you could add that here. This is where your antenna would go if you had the Wi-Fi. Let me show you the power supply. This power supply looks very similar to an HP. This is 19.5 volts, 3.34 amps, as opposed to the 333 that is on your normal 35 watt systems. The big difference, though, is in the tip. So this is a real tiny one here that goes, I mentioned before, right there. So unfortunately, you really couldn't use an HP one in here because obviously the barrel is much larger. The Dell has, very similar to HP, the thumb screw. Let's crack it open. And I guess I should show, before we go inside, just for completeness, here's the back. Gives information on the actual, I guess, the full, true, model number. Here it does actually say the Optiplex 9020M. You've got your power draw, 19.5 volts, 3.34 amps. I guess this looks like maybe this one was built in Ireland. And that's about it. So that kind of gives you the basics. Let's see, does it have the... This doesn't have the serial number on here, but back here, I've got a service tag number, and this is the express service code. So Dell kind of uses both in different places. Oftentimes, I believe with the service tag, you can go on the Dell site and you can find out information on, parts, what this had when it first came out of the factory, etc. So right away, one thing that you're going to probably find in a lot of your Dells, it will probably be missing this caddy. And this is just plastic. And because it's not screwed in, it's real simple, I'm sure, to get it lost, or maybe when the people were tossing the unit, they just pulled the whole drive assembly out like this and tossed it. So you're gonna, that's one thing I would look for when you're buying your Dell. Hey, does it already have the caddy? If you've got to buy this, I saw it, various ranges from $8 to $12. And, again, there's really not much to it. You do want to make sure you get the right, part number. It is kind of nifty on how it slides in there. So what I did with this, I just took a normal SSD. It's got these little kind of almost, I don't know what you call them. They're like screws, but they're more like pins that you actually kind of bend this out a little bit in order to get the drive in there. And you are putting it in, I guess in a way, this way it's right side up, but as you're kind of putting it in, you're putting it in upside down. You sort of lock it down here. Got like a little nub or little plastic there that it has to go over. Make sure it's fully seated. You probably have to squeeze this in a little bit. And then it's going to connect right onto your SATA. This is kind of nice. There's no real cable. It's pretty hard, connector right there on the board, and just snaps right into place. That's kind of cool. Okay, so that's one thing. Make sure you've got a caddy. Now, I'm really into, I really like having these SATA drives. It just makes it easier because I use the same one. This particular one I can throw into an HP and it works just fine. So I really like the caddy. Now looking at the unit, it will take both a 2280, but it will also take a 2242. This is something you may want to look at when you're buying, is make sure that you've got two screws here. This one I can take out, but if I'm going to have to take it all out in order to put it in here. And believe it or not, you can buy this screw aftermarket, but on eBay they wanted like $14 for just this one silly screw. So yeah, check to make sure you get both of them. This would be your connector. It looks, it's essentially M.2, but it will only take SATA drives. It will not take the NVMe. The NVMe won't even, fit in there. So you're going to have to go here. This is also an M.2 for your Wi-Fi. This particular unit didn't come with Wi-Fi, didn't have an antenna. Another thing that you may want to look for when you're buying, I was a noob when it came to Dell, so I looked around. I didn't follow my own rules to make sure that I had Wi-Fi, made sure I have caddy and so forth. But that's why I want to tell you, look for it just like any other. Unfortunately, because this is so short, you can't do the little trick where you use this as a second hard drive. The little adapters that you normally go in here start butting up against what is that, for the microphone headphone thing, and it will not fit. It won't even fit the one that goes at a right angle. So yeah, this can only really be used for now. I do have my one video where I can put in an SD card, so I guess you could do that if you wanted to get one of those adapters with the SD, because that just goes directly onto here as far as the sizing. You'll see these two ports here. Okay, this was another thing that I didn't look for. You can buy, or it comes with it, which would have been better, little additional add-on cards or adapters, however you want to call it, that fit into here. They screw into these two screws, and then they have a ribbon cable. They'll either connect here if it's serial based, like an extra serial port, or it'll connect here if you're doing HDMI or a display port. So I wish that I had gotten one that already had the some sort of extra adapter here. It might be nice to have another display port, HDMI. Would have been nice to have the antenna. And what kicks me is that if I had looked around a little more, I would have gotten all those things for pretty much the same price as what I paid for this unit. It's a nice unit, very clean, very, you know, the fan's nice and so forth, but it pays to shop around and really know what you're looking for so that you don't overspend later trying to get all the other components. Now, you're probably wondering, okay, well, how do I put memory into this thing? Well, what we're going to need to do is we pinch these two together. This takes this whole unit off, which is kind of covers the heat sink, but this is where you put the memory. This takes the DDR3, 1600 megahertz. I believe the max you can put in here is most likely 16 gig. For a processor, I got the i5 4950T. I think that's right. I'll correct it if it's wrong, but it's the same as what I have in my other units as far as for the G1, just to kind of keep the comparison the same. Same thing when you're looking, you know, shop around and make sure. Thankfully, I at least got a processor that's quad core. Now, if we want to see what this looks like, we're going to take off these screws here. So let me get my screwdriver. Now, you'll notice these are actually Phillips versus on the HP, which likes to use, of course, the T15 torque. I don't believe these had numbers on them. Although they did recommend when you put it back on to kind of do a star configuration as you're tightening it down. When I got this unit, I ended up putting new thermal paste on it, and it took a good 10 minutes to get the old thermal paste off. It was so caked on, burnt on, whatever you want to call it. Well, I looked again, and it should just go straight up. And I know I've done this before. Oh, wow. That was... All right, well, that was strange. It was on there pretty tight. Okay. Processor, pretty much the same as far as the, taking the stuff off. Okay, I'll go ahead and put this back on. Interesting. Maybe it just got really sticky with that thermal. Okay, well, that's there. Let's put this back on. Okay. So, actually, before I do that, so a couple things just want to talk about. So, if we were to look at our ProDesk on the back, right away we already have two display ports and VGA, where with this, I'd have to pay extra to add the display port and the other. With my ProDesk, I can use NVMe SSDs. This I can only do SATA, which means, of course, I can do a faster on the ProDesk. The processors are pretty much the same. I can do more also if I wanted to add something more with the Wi-Fi card because of the orientation. It's not going to limit me. This will allow me to put in a 2242, but I could also do that with the other by using an adapter. You've got a metal cage that you screw in on the ProDesk, where this is the plastic. This is nice in that it's toolless. Although again, you've got plastic versus metal. There is a little bit more, plastic on the Dell. So it's kind of, as far as overall, differences. I'm going to stick this in. Let's fire it up and check to see what we get as far as power usage and also the temperatures when we're at full load.
Well, that was some weird stuff. I ended up having to basically hold down the power to kill it because it locked up. But I don't know. Something was weird. Maybe just in the startup. Didn't look like anything was being installed for a Windows update. But anyway, we're in Windows. Temperature has gone up, most likely because of whatever was happening before. Before we were at around 50. Power is still around 34 right now. We'll give it a little time to settle and make sure that we don't have anything else, and then we'll launch the heavy load. Okay, things have settled down. Temperature is down. Power draw is in the probably 17, 18 range. So I feel good that whatever that was is gone away. So let's go ahead and run heavy load for 5 minutes as we've done before, and we'll check to see what happens with power and also with the temp. Okay, right away it shot up to around 36 watts. Temp still looks good. We'll let it run and see. I'll monitor and see what the temperature looks like and also the power. It's staying pretty consistent at 36 watts. The problem, I can't see what the temps are because it looks like it's frozen, because if you look at the clock that's on the HD info, it hasn't changed at all. So we won't really get to see the temp. Oh, it looked like, oh no, maybe, no, it must have had just enough change, or maybe got some of the CPU, so it looks like it's around 60 right now. So it has gone up little by little. We'll see after 5 minutes. Okay, we're coming up at the 5-minute mark. Let me stop it. We'll see what the temps look like. Okay, let's see. Let's move this around a little bit just to see if it updates. Interesting. Huh. It actually didn't get beyond 60. I'm surprised. It's already cooling down. Let's see what the power. Power has already gone down to 16, 17 watt. Temperatures are dropping fairly steady there. That's pretty good as far as the max temp. And as far as mostly, I mean, normally we'd see more like in the 65, 70 range. So that's pretty good as far as the cooling. Okay, we'll just put this to the side. We'll kill this. So then, one other thing I wanted to show you was Geekbench and some comparisons there. So here we see our Dell Optiplex 9020M, 924. Here is a G1DM 947. Here's that Lenovo that we looked at, quite lower, 805, but they're all using the i5 4590T. The multi-core are very similar in terms of numbers. The almost spot on. So overall on Geekbench, numbers are pretty much in the same ballpark. So question as to which I would recommend, the HP, the EliteDesk or ProDek G1 DM, or would I go with this Dell? This Dell's nice in terms of the the kind of the layout and so forth. The ability to add, it's got the little extra, you can add the adapter cards, etc. But overall, I would still go with the HP, mostly because it feels like a newer unit. I mean, none of these early ones were the greatest when it came to maybe power and that sort of thing in terms of, power consumption tended to be a little higher. They were still learning, et cetera, et cetera. I've used Dell computers and other things, and they definitely like the tool list type stuff as much as possible. I think that the HP is a little better designed as far as the G1. You've got the M.2, where the Wi-Fi is set up. You can do more with it. You already have 2 display ports and a VGA without having to get anything additional. No, extra charges. Most likely, when you get a G1, you're probably going to have the caddy because it's right there. It's it's almost an integral part of the whole infrastructure. So you don't have to buy that, where most likely you have with the Dell. So if you found the Dell cheap, or you're interested in having something that's not HP, maybe check this out. Also check out my video about the Lenovo's and their setup. They're all a little different in the design. You can't go wrong in terms of the units, but if you push came to shove, similar price, I'd go with the HP.